Welcome to the Tuna Budget Podcast, your source for insights into financial wellness. Today we're diving into gambling use. At tunabudget.com, home of the Tuna Budget Worksheet Plan and Candid Conversation Memos, we offer resources that simplify budget life planning. We also encourage discussions about real-life challenges affecting our finances. Don't forget to submit your Candid Conversation Memo at tunabudget.com. Let's get started. Gambling. Path to ruin. Sorry, but the consequences and negative effects of gambling are not good, but addictive and destructive. Like other destructive things that people say are, so good. The consequences and negative effects of gambling are also not good. It's not true that addictive and destructive things are good. Rather, they are not good. If you or anyone else falls for the lie, you'll be in addictive bondage before you can escape unless you avoid it or otherwise get help. Tuna budget worksheet plans are ruined when individuals and families go down the path of gambling and are subjected to their addictive consequences. So how do you see gambling? That it's a good thing? Do you gamble, just for fun or just limited to a certain amount? And it's just like a night out and to see a movie and have dinner, that sort of justification. It's amazing what excuses people will come up with to rationalize their gambling, which can easily turn into a destructive addiction. In a couple of minutes here, I'm going to give you some examples of people and their gambling and what happened to them. And I want you to ask yourself if you think any of these people would have ever taken this path with all their little justifications and if they could see that what devastation would come before they even went down that path. Of course they wouldn't know, right? Again, would they have justified, maybe like you are, their petty gambling activities, okay, just like you do? So why are you doing it? Maybe you are in the same path to ruin too, and you just don't see it yet. Of course, you justify, you're different, and I'm just playing around, right? People like you every day are becoming addicted to gambling, online gambling, whatever, and it will eventually lead to the destruction of all things precious. If you become addicted to gambling, what effect will it have on your overall and financial well-being in particular? But maybe you'll win, right? But you should consider the behaviors and the consequences and the negative effects of gambling before you start to go down this road any further. This path that always leads to ruin. Wouldn't it be better to just be done with it and never do it again? And that's a question that only you can answer. Meanwhile, look at the destruction gambling has caused these people. Okay? And this is according to various sources that are posted in the podcast transcripts. You can see them yourself there. But let's look at what can destroy your tuna budget worksheet plan by your use of gambling, okay? The first category is financial devastation. Okay, loss of savings and assets. John, a compulsive gambler, lost $50,000 of his life savings in a single night at the casino, depleting his retirement fund and children's college fund. Accumulation of debt. Sarah, addicted to online gambling, accumulated $100,000 in credit card debt over a year, struggling to make minimum payments and facing potential bankruptcy. Bankruptcy and financial ruin. David, a longtime gambling addict, declared bankruptcy after maxing out multiple credit cards, taking out high-interest loans, and losing his home to foreclosure due to gambling debts. Loss of employment and income. Lisa, a successful professional, lost her job and career due to chronic absenteeism and performance issues related to her gambling addiction, leading to financial instability and unemployment. Family financial strain. The Smith family's finances were strained when Mark, the primary breadwinner, developed a severe gambling addiction, spending thousands of dollars each month on lottery tickets and casino games, causing tension and hardship in the household. Okay, let's shift over to mental health decline. Okay, anxiety and stress. Jane, a compulsive gambler, experienced severe anxiety and stress and constantly worrying about her mounting debts, unpaid bills, and financial obligations, impacting her mental well-being. Depression and despair. Tom, struggling with a gambling addiction, fell into a deep depression, feeling hopeless and overwhelmed by his financial losses, social isolation, and inability to stop gambling despite the negative consequences. Suicidal thoughts and behavior. Emily, facing overwhelming debt and guilt from her gambling addiction, contemplated suicide as a way to escape her financial problems and end the emotional pain and suffering she endured. Psychological distress and shame. Mike, addicted to sports betting, experienced profound psychological distress and shame, hiding his gambling activities from family and friends and feeling guilt and self-loathing after each loss. Cognitive impairment and obsession. Karen, obsessed with slot machines, experienced cognitive impairment, struggling to focus on work or daily tasks, constantly preoccupied with thoughts of gambling and winning, and neglecting personal responsibilities. This short ad is sponsored by the Debt Crisis Problem Podcast. Attention listeners, please join us at tunabudget.com to tune into the Debt Crisis Problem Podcast, where in plain English we discuss the 20 risks that could soon fuel a serious economic downturn. We explore these critical risks and offer practical insights for navigating financial uncertainty. So join us for thought-provoking discussions that encourage transparency and more awareness. And subscribe now to stay informed and be ready for whatever comes next. Next, relationship strain and social isolation. Family conflict and breakdown. Jack's marriage deteriorated as his gambling addiction escalated, leading to frequent arguments, lies, and betrayal, ultimately ending in separation and divorce. Loss of trust and support. Sarah's family and friends distanced themselves from her after discovering the extent of her gambling problem, feeling betrayed and unable to trust her due to her deceit and financial irresponsibility. Social withdrawal and isolation. Ben, consumed by his online poker addiction, withdrew from social activities, avoiding friends and family gatherings to spend more time gambling alone, leading to feelings of loneliness and isolation. Alienation and estrangement. Amanda's relationships with her children deteriorated as her gambling addiction worsened, causing emotional distress and resentment, leading to estrangement and loss of familial bonds. Impact on children and loved ones. Tim's teenage daughter Emma suffered emotionally and academically as a result of her father's gambling addiction, feeling neglected, ashamed, and burdened by the family financial problems. The next category is legal and criminal consequences. Arrests and legal charges. John, a compulsive gambler, resorted to theft and fraud to fund his addiction, resulting in multiple arrests and criminal charges for embezzlement and identity theft. Legal fees and court costs. Sarah faced mounting legal fees and court costs after being charged with illegal gambling activities, draining her finances and exacerbating her financial difficulties. Probation and parole restrictions. David, convicted of gambling-related offenses, faced probation and parole restrictions, including bans on entering casinos, participating in gambling activities, and associating with known gamblers. Criminal records and employment barriers. Lisa's criminal record from gambling-related offenses hindered her ability to secure employment, as potential employers conducted background checks and were reluctant to hire individuals with a history of legal problems. Imprisonment and incarceration. Mark, convicted of gambling-related crimes, served time in prison, facing separation from his family, loss of freedom, and stigma associated with incarceration, further exacerbating his mental health and financial problems. The next area, physical health deterioration. Sleep disturbances and insomnia. Jane, consumed by her gambling addiction, experienced sleep disturbances and insomnia, staying up late into the night gambling online, leading to chronic fatigue and daytime drowsiness. Physical neglect and decline. Tom neglected his physical health as his gambling addiction worsened, skipping meals, avoiding exercise, and engaging in erratic sleep patterns, leading to weight loss, fatigue, and overall decline in well-being. Stress-related illnesses. Emily, caught in a cycle of financial stress due to her gambling addiction, developed stress-related illnesses such as hypertension and gastral issues, further exasperating her overall health. Substance abuse and addiction. Mike, struggling with the consequences of his gaming addiction, turned to alcohol and drugs as coping mechanisms, leading to substance abuse disorders and compounding his physical health issues. Neglect of medical care. Sarah, consumed by her gambling activities, neglected routine medical checkups and ignored symptoms of underlying health conditions, relating to delayed diagnosis and worsening health outcomes. So let me just give you a few candid questions. Are you willing to not gamble? Are you able to not gamble? Do you have any of these noted behaviors exhibited by someone who has a gambling addiction? Have you experienced any of the noted consequences or negative effects of a gambling addiction? Last, are you willing to get the necessary help to get a gambling addiction behind you once and for all? Thank you for joining us. Today we explored gambling use, highlighting the importance of open conversations in financial wellness. We want to hear from you at tunabudget.com. Please submit your Candid Conversation Memo and share your insights. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe for future podcasts. Until next time, visit tunabudget.com for your free Tuna Budget Worksheet Plan, the most powerful budget worksheet plan in the world, yours. Thanks again.